This is a story about a storm that tore through my life. It ripped apart everything I knew, everything I thought was solid. My marriage was ending, my world was breaking. I felt so small, so lost. The wind howled around me, and I did not know which way was up. It was a terrifying place to be, a place of deep, aching vulnerability. But even in the darkest storm, there is a quiet voice, a voice that whispers, "You can survive this." This is my story of listening to that voice. The ground beneath my feet disappeared. It was sudden, it was brutal. One day I was a wife, part of a we. The next I was just me, standing alone. The future I had mapped out vanished, like a drawing erased from a chalkboard. What was left was a blank space, a terrifying, empty space. I had to find a new map, a new way forward. I had to learn to navigate this strange new land, this land of after. It felt impossible, but I knew I had to try, for myself, for my future. Fear was my constant companion then. It sat beside me, whispered doubts in my ear. It told me I was not strong enough, that I would fail. Sometimes I almost believed it, the weight of it all pressed down on me. It was hard to breathe, hard to think, hard to just be. But a tiny spark of defiance started to glow, a small no. No, I will not break. No, I will not be defeated. This spark was small, but it was mine. And I held on to it tightly. This journey was not pretty. It was messy. It was painful. There were days I did not want to get out of bed, days the tears would not stop. But through it all, something was happening. I was changing. I was growing. I was unearthing parts of myself I never knew existed. This is not just a story of loss. It is a story of finding strength, finding truth, finding me. In the heart of the storm, in the middle of the wreckage, that is where my true story began. I remember the beginning, oh how I remember it. Our love felt like sunshine, warm, bright, all-encompassing. We laughed so easily then. Our days were filled with dreams, big dreams, small dreams, shared dreams. We built a world together, a world we thought was safe, a world we thought would last forever. We held hands, we made promises, we believed in our forever. It was a beautiful belief, a hopeful belief, a young belief. We were so sure of it all. He was my everything, my best friend, my confidant, my safe place, or so I thought. The early years were painted in vibrant colours, picnics in the park, late-night talks, the comfortable silence of just being together. We saw a future, a long, happy future, stretching out before us like a sunlit path. We walked that path hand in hand for a while. We truly believed our love was invincible, that nothing could touch it, nothing could break it. We were naive, but we were happy. Our home was filled with hope. We planned our lives, our family, our adventures. Every detail seemed perfect, every moment felt precious. We collected memories like seashells, each one a reminder of our joy. Our connection felt deep, unbreakable. We would look at each other and we would just know, or at least that is what I told myself. That is what I wanted to believe, that unspoken understanding, that perfect harmony. It was a story I loved, a story I lived in. But even in the brightest sunshine, shadows can begin to form. Tiny at first, almost invisible. Easy to ignore, easy to dismiss. Little hesitations, words unsaid, small moments of disconnect. We were too busy basking in the light, too busy believing in our perfect story. We did not see the shadows lengthening. We did not feel the temperature slowly begin to drop. We did not understand that even the most beautiful forever can have an end. We were just living, loving, unaware. The whispers started softly, so softly I almost missed them. A slight chill in the air between us. A conversation that ended too soon. A look that did not quite meet my eye. These were small things, tiny cracks in our perfect facade. I tried to smooth them over. I tried to pretend they were not there, because acknowledging them felt too scary. It meant acknowledging that something was wrong, that our forever might not be forever after all. And I was not ready for that. We began to drift, slowly, imperceptibly at first, like two boats unmoored. The space between us grew, filled with unspoken words, unasked questions, unmet needs. We were living parallel lives under the same roof, but miles apart. The laughter became less frequent, the easy silences became tense. The shared dreams started to feel like my dreams or his dreams, not our dreams anymore. The connection that once felt so strong started to fray, thread by thread. I tried. Oh, how I tried. I suggested talks, I suggested help. I tried to bridge the growing gap. Sometimes he would try too, for a little while, but the efforts felt forced, temporary, like patching a hole in a sinking ship. The water kept seeping in, the distance kept growing. I felt a deep loneliness, a loneliness that is unique to being unheard in a marriage. It was a quiet ache, a constant companion. This was not the love I had signed up for. This was not the life I had envisioned. The light we once shared began to dim considerably. The vibrant colors of our early days faded, replaced by muted tones, grays, blues. The warmth was replaced by a cool indifference. It was a slow, painful fade, like a sunset that lasts too long, leaving you in the cold and dark. I knew deep down that we were losing something precious. We were losing each other. And the scariest part? I was not sure how to stop it, or if it could even be stopped anymore. There was a moment, a single searing moment, when the truth became undeniable. For me, it was not a loud explosion. It was a quiet realization, a click, like a lock finally giving way. I looked at our life, at the space between us, at the unhappiness that had become our normal, and I knew I could not do it anymore. Staying was costing me too much. It was costing me my joy, my peace, myself. The pain of leaving seemed immense, but the pain of staying had become unbearable. The decision to end my marriage was the hardest decision of my life. It felt like an admission of failure, a tearing apart of my own heart. I had believed in us. I had fought for us. For so long, letting go felt like betraying that younger version of myself, the one who had stood at an altar full of hope and promises. But I also knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that this was the only way forward, the only way to save myself, to find my way back to the light. Fear screamed at me. What about the future? What about being alone? What about the judgment, the logistics, the sheer overwhelming mess of it all? My mind raced with 1,000 anxieties, each one bigger and scarier than the last. But beneath the fear, there was something else, a tiny, flickering flame of courage, a whisper that said, "You are stronger than you think. You deserve happiness. It is okay to choose yourself." This whisper became my lifeline, my North Star. So I chose. I chose the unknown. I chose the pain of separation over the slow death of staying. It was an act of self-preservation, an act of fierce, desperate love for myself. The end of us was not just an ending. It was a beginning, the beginning of a journey I never asked for, but one I knew I had to take. It was time to pack my bags, metaphorically, literally, and step out of the shadows into whatever came next, even if I was terrified, even if I stumbled. Section 5. The Cold Halls of Justice, my courtroom ordeal. The courtroom was cold, not just in temperature, but in feeling. It was a place of hard benches and stern faces, a place where emotions were liabilities, where stories were reduced to facts and figures. My heart, still so raw and broken, felt out of place there. This was not a place for healing. This was a place for battle, for division, for drawing lines in the sand. I clutched my papers, my hands were shaking. I felt small and very, very alone, even with my lawyer beside me. The legal process was a maze, confusing, intimidating. So many documents, so many rules, so many words I did not understand. Affidavits, depositions, motions. It felt like learning a new language, a language designed to keep people out, to make them feel powerless. I had to trust strangers, strangers to sort through the pieces of my life, my marriage, my finances, my future. It was invasive, it was humbling. It was deeply unsettling to have so little control over something so personal. Standing before a judge was terrifying, having to speak my truth. In that formal, sterile environment, while my ex-partner sat on the other side, someone I had once loved, now an opponent, it felt surreal, wrong. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, I wanted to run away. But I stood my ground, I spoke my words, my voice trembled, but I said what needed to be said. I was fighting for my future, for a fair chance, for a new beginning, and I would not be silenced. The emotional toll of the court experience was immense. Each appearance, each negotiation, each setback. It chipped away at my already fragile spirit. It dredged up old hurts. It created new ones. There were days I left the courthouse feeling defeated, drained, wondering if it would ever end. But each time I found a way to pick myself up, to keep going. Because I knew, deep down, that this was a necessary part of the journey, a painful rite of passage, on the road to freedom. Section 6, Inside the Hurricane, Navigating Emotional Turmoil. The divorce process unleashed a hurricane of emotions inside me. Grief was a constant wave, crashing over me when I least expected it. Grief for the love I had lost, grief for the future I had dreamed of, grief for the us that was no more. Anger fled too, hot and sudden, anger at the unfairness, anger at the pain, anger at him, anger at myself. Sadness was a heavy blanket, suffocating me at times, making it hard to see any light. It was an exhausting, relentless storm. Sleepless nights became my new normal. My mind would race, replaying memories, analyzing conversations, worrying about the future. Tears would fall freely, sometimes in quiet sobs, sometimes in loud heaving cries. The ache in my chest was persistent, a dull throb, a reminder of the hole that had been torn in my life. I felt fragile, like a piece of glass. One wrong word, one wrong look, and I might shatter into a million pieces. It was a daily struggle just to hold myself together. Support systems became crucial. I learned quickly who my true friends were, the ones who would sit with me in my pain, without judgment, without easy answers. The ones who would listen, really listen. Some people disappeared, unable to handle the messiness, the discomfort. That was a painful lesson in itself, but the ones who stayed, they were my anchors, my lifelines. My family, too, rallied around me, offering comfort, offering strength, offering a safe place to fall apart. There were moments of deep despair, moments when I felt completely overwhelmed, when the thought of rebuilding my life seemed impossible. Too daunting, too much. I wanted to hide, to give up, to just make the pain stop. But even in those darkest moments, a tiny flicker of resilience remained. A stubborn refusal to be completely consumed by the storm. It was the part of me that knew, even when I did not believe it, that I was stronger than this, that I would find my way through, eventually. As Section 7, Finding My Voice, the Fight for Fairness and Truth. The fight for fairness was not just about money or possessions. It was about something deeper. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my sense of self-worth, after years of feeling diminished, unheard. I had to find my voice, a voice that had been quieted for too long. I had to learn to speak my truth, clearly, firmly, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was scary. This was not about revenge, it was about justice. For me, for my future, for the life I deserved to build. Standing up for myself felt foreign at first. I had spent so much of my marriage trying to keep the peace, trying to avoid conflict. Now I had to embrace it. I had to advocate for my needs, my rights. I had to set boundaries, firm boundaries, with my ex-partner, with the legal system, with anyone who tried to undermine me. It was a process of unlearning old patterns and learning new ways of being, ways that honored my own truth, my own value. It was empowering and terrifying all at once. There were times I felt like I was screaming into a void. My requests for fairness seemed to fall on deaf ears. The system felt designed to wear you down, to make you give up. But I refused. I held on to my truth, like a shield. I repeated it, again and again. I gathered my evidence. I sought support. I learned to be persistent, to be resilient, to not take no for an answer when no was unjust. Each small act of standing up for myself, it built my strength. It solidified my resolve. This fight was not just external. It was an internal battle too, a battle against my own doubts, my own fears, my own conditioning to be agreeable, to be nice. I had to learn that being fair to myself was not selfish. It was necessary. It was an act of self-love. And slowly, painstakingly, I began to win those battles, both internal and external. Each victory, no matter how small, was a step towards healing, a step towards taking back my power, a step towards building a future based on my own terms, my own truth. Section 8, Forged in Fire, Lessons Learned and Strength Discovered. Looking back, the journey through divorce was like walking through fire. It burned, it scarred, it changed me in ways I could never have imagined. But I emerged, not unscathed, but stronger, more resilient, more myself than I had ever been. The heat of that fire forged a new kind of strength within me, a strength born not from avoiding pain, but from walking through it, from facing it head-on, and from realizing that I could survive, even the things I thought would break me. The lessons were plentiful and profound. I learned about love, what it is and what it is not. I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go, even when it hurts. I learned about loss, how it can hollow you out, but also how it can create space for new growth. I learned about resilience, that it is not about bouncing back unchanged, but about integrating the experience and moving forward with new wisdom. I learned about my own capacity for courage, for endurance, for hope. I discovered a well of inner strength I never knew I possessed. It was there all along, buried deep beneath layers of self-doubt and societal expectations. The divorce process forced me to dig deep, to find that well, to draw from it again and again. Each time I faced a fear, each time I spoke my truth, each time I chose myself, I was tapping into that strength. It became my foundation, my anchor. In the midst of the storm, I am no longer afraid of my own power. The scars from this journey are real. They are a part of my story, a testament to what I have endured and overcome. But they do not define me. They are reminders of my strength, my resilience, my capacity to heal. I wear them with a quiet pride. They show that I fought, that I survived, that I grew. I am more than my divorce. I am more than my pain. I am a woman who walked through fire and emerged, ready to build a new life, a life filled with purpose and joy and peace. Section 9, Sunrise After the Storm, a message of hope and renewal. Eventually the storm does pass, the winds calm, the rain stops, the dark clouds begin to part, and slowly, tentatively, the sun begins to shine again. It is a different kind of sunlight, perhaps a little softer, a little wiser, but it is sunlight nonetheless. The world looks different after the storm, sharper, clearer, more precious. There is a sense of peace, a quiet knowing that you have weathered something immense, and you are still standing. This is the dawn, your new dawn. Rebuilding a life after divorce is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and a whole lot of self-compassion. You get to choose the bricks. You get to design the rooms. You get to decide what your new life will look like, on your own terms. There will be new dreams, new joys, new adventures. It might not be the life you originally planned, but it can be a beautiful life, a fulfilling life, a life that is authentically yours. Embrace the process of creation. If you are in the midst of your own storm right now, please know this: you are not alone. So many of us have walked this path, or are walking it with you. You are stronger than you think you are, braver than you believe, more resilient than you can imagine. It is okay to feel broken. It is okay to grieve. It is okay to be angry. Feel all your feelings. They are valid. They are part of your healing, but do not let them consume you. Hold on to hope. Trust yourself. Trust your journey. Even when it feels impossible, even when the path is unclear, there is life after divorce, a good life, a joyful life, a life filled with love, perhaps a different kind of love, but love nonetheless. Embrace the lessons, embrace the growth, embrace the woman you are becoming. The storm will end, and when it does, you will stand in the light, stronger, wiser, and free. A new beginning is not just possible, it is waiting for you. Go